Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for the Making Progress channel, video number 17 in our hopefully forever series, The Importance of Verification in Preparing for the Future. The importance of verification, and yes, I do mean the little blue check mark. That's what this video is about. Talk about what verification is, talk about the downsides of verification first. I really am fitting into a mold. I might change this tomorrow, but I do like talking about the downsides of something before the upsides, because I feel like a lot of people, when they have some doubts on a subject, they don't take to the upsides because they go, well, that's nice and all, but what about the downsides? But you hit them with downsides first. Maybe afterwards, like, okay, this guy's thinking. He admitted there's downsides. Maybe not all of them, maybe some. They're more likely to hear the upsides out and be like, okay, this is cool. I think a lot of people hear upsides, they just don't even get to the downsides because, oh, this guy is just a Pollyanna, just totally living in fantasy land. Then we'll do verification upsides and what I think are some of the trends potentially in the future of verification. So verification, what is it? Essentially, it's the social media company that gives you the blue check, links your account to external proof that it's actually you. And they can do this through a number of ways. A lot of times it's pictures of license and stuff like that. When YouTube does it, gee whiz, they want like to send you a letter to your house physically, and you type in the physical code on the letter. It's really intense. But the more intense it is, the more likely that it'll pass through every scam, and it'll be real good at finding out who actual people are. Now, verification doesn't have to occur just for individual human beings. It can occur definitely for regular humans. Probably one of the biggest reasons it started, or at least caught fire at first, was for celebrities. It's so easy to run a fan page that's not licensed or official. A lot of times where people were at least in my little area of the fitness industry, they were saying, whatever their name was, like Mike Israetel Official. And it was like, that's just the name of an account. Someone else could start another account that says Mike Israetel Official also, or Mike Israetel Officials with a last no one notices, and blow up even bigger than you if they're better on social media, share more pictures of you. So celebrities really benefit from this, but corporations can get official verified account status, non-governmental organizations, and even government agencies. Like the White House has a blue check on Twitter. So anything that comes out of there, you can hold the White House to add they actually meant to say that. The good news of verification isn't just for people to be able to be verified. The best reason to do it is that others interacting with that account on social media can see that it's verified and thus know, okay, this is the real entity speaking. And conversely, that other accounts that are not verified that are claiming to be that account are not the real thing. And you can now tell who's verified on social media for who isn't verified. And those distinctions of verified and unverified are very powerful and ultra important. And I'm going to bring up a bunch of reasons as to how and why. Now, before we get into those good reasons for how verification works really well and why I think it's a great thing, which I do, let's talk about some downsides, because there are downsides. Absolutely. First, if you get banned for violations of community policy or whatever, that's a really big deal, because it used to be back in the old Instagram days, definitely Facebook days, you get banned on something. You just like, especially on Instagram, you get banned, you start a new account, 30 seconds later, you're back in the weeds saying the same stuff. No big deal. Especially if you're not the type of person that has a huge collection of pictures and videos. You're more of like a speak truth to power kind of poster. You have maybe 1 or 2 posts or 0 posts. You just want to comment on stuff and follow the news. Then you could just get back right on. If we're really pressing down hard on verification, if we create platforms that give you way more access if you're verified, or as to how I think should occur on many platforms in the future, only give you access, not all platforms, very big distinction, give you access only if you're verified. Gee, like if you get dinged enough and you get some kind of ban for violations, getting back on is really tough. So if it's common in the future, which I think it will be, to have areas of the internet where only verified individuals or accounts can exist and interact, intelligent mediation and dispute resolution that's quick and effective must become a thing if this is common. You can't do the whole thing where they kick you off and there's no one to reach out to on Facebook. Bad news. Next, if everyone has to be verified, within their parameters, oppressive governments can control speech better. If the Chinese government thinks I'm a rebel group or I'm a person who said some things that weren't exactly 1,000% kind to the Chinese government before, they could just say, hey, look, you don't get to be on the internet. No anonymous posting, nothing. Either verified by the Chinese government or you're just not on at all. That's bad. I will say, though, that that's not a verification problem. That is a bad government problem. Like, are fighter planes used as tools to oppress a population? Sweden has its own fighter planes, the Viggen, the Gripen, and all those. They don't use them to oppress anyone. China has fighter planes that they use to literally oppress the free nation of Taiwan right next to them. Yeah, that's right, I said Taiwan. It's not the thing that's doing the bad, even guns. I'm relatively neutral on the whole Second Amendment issue, but I see the point. Like, guns are really bad if people use them to do bad things. Just the same way verification, people say, oh, I don't trust verification. Well, it's really who's behind it. And if the government's allowed to oppress you in any capacity, it will, without verification. So if we have a problem with China using this verification system to oppress their people, we should just take verification right out of that sentence because it's superfluous and say we have a problem with China oppressing its people in any way, shape, or form. And then we should do something about that. Next problem. The verification process has to be really good, which is to say fast, cheap, and highly accurate. Because if it's going to work really well, like I can't wait 5 days to get verified for a platform I need for work right now. Sure, shit can't wait 2 weeks. But the benefits are so big for verification that the incentives are there to power this evolution. And one of the great things that's recently happened is, for example, Instagram, for which I have applied and currently not been accepted yet. But my account's complicated. I have a history of saying things I thought were okay to say on the internet, but apparently 90s jokes don't work anymore, so I was banned for a little while. Instagram has instituted this thing where you pay them a certain amount of money per month, and they give you the blue check if you verify. And so because the more people they verify, the more money they make, it's a really great incentive for them to just get on it quick, because it's awesome. Next. You can get dinged for non-politically correct speech, whatever the politics are at the time, whatever politically correct means at the time, and it changes, and that's kind of part of the problem, and that will curb discussion. Because if everyone's a blue check, and they're all saying the same NPC blue check type of shit, then you don't get a lot of really great political discourse and kind of speaking truth to power situations. However, I will say, and I will explain this more on the upsides, you can and still should be able to go to anonymous forums if you like, or multiple social media platforms can be started. I mean, I think Trump has his own social media platform where like, you're not getting dinged for shit. So that diversity of thought and opinion doesn't have to be something that we break the entire mold of verification for. There are ways to have diversity of thought and opinion that are still okay with verification. The first easy one is companies that verify you, like Elon Musk is currently doing with Twitter. Twitter used to kick you off from damn near anything. Nowadays, it's like, yeah, it's much harder to get kicked off. He's brought some people back on. Cool. But also, even if you're kicking people off, maybe you can go to an anonymous forum. I mean, on Reddit, you can say damn near whatever. It's cool. There's tons of other forums and small forums and 4chan, 8chan, whatever. They're like, shit, you can say fuck all and nobody does shit to you. And so there's multiple social media platforms as well. Like if you're not saying some stuff on Twitter that they're cool with, maybe you go to Instagram, maybe they're cool there, so on and so forth. So there's ways to solve most of these downsides. Let's look at the upsides. And maybe I missed some downsides. If I did, please list them in the comments. I'd love to read that. Upsides of verification, and there are many, so buckle up. The most useful kind of social media interaction can deal with only real entities. You know the person who's DMing you is a real person. Because you're on the platform to interact with real people. I did not join Instagram to interact with fucking bots and viruses and Russian trolls. Fuck that. So if someone's DMing me and they got a blue check, I know they're legit, which is great. I don't want to have to know if I'm talking to a bot or a fake or something like that. On YouTube right now, there's all these Russian bots that I'm in the whole Ukraine war situation. I like to keep tabs on it, mostly because I'm interested in the technical military stuff and some of the civil rights stuff. You can't tell what's what in some of the YouTube comments. There's just so many Russian bots in there. And like, Do I want to respond to this person? Do I even want to read what they're saying? Because sometimes Western powers, particularly people on the political left who are very pro-Ukraine war, will be illusory in some of the ways they present things. They'll be like, Russia's doomed, the war is over in a week at this rate. And you're like, I know that's not true, but I don't know how false that is. I wonder if I could find a valuable dissenting opinion. But then you have to fucking go through 80 Russian troll bot bullshit account statuses and comments that are like, well, this is just all lies. I don't want to have to strew through a bunch of lies. I want everyone on YouTube eventually to be verified so that when people are saying it, either it's a real Russian guy from Russia, and then fucking he's going to say weird shit, but whatever. But if it's a real dissenting opinion from someone that sounds like they're not Russian themselves, I can believe a real human thinks this. And then the probability of it being not propaganda isn't 100%, but it goes up marginally. In this context, bots and scam accounts, when everyone's verified, or almost all, or even some people are verified, but you could hit a filter button on your Instagram or whatever that shows you 0 unverified accounts, only verifieds, scams and bot accounts become really, really hard to create because you have to fool the verification system. And that's a competition between the verification system's layered strategy and the bots and scams and fakes. And one of those is a multi-billion, future trillion-dollar corporation, might have power of Meta behind it or Twitter behind it or whatever else you're doing. You know, YouTube's Google. Oh my God, it's huge. Or Alphabet, the company that owns both YouTube and Google. That is fighting like a troll farm in India or fucking, you know what I'm saying, Russia or some shit like that. After a while, it's no contest, right? So that makes social media a fucking great place. I don't know about you guys, but I'm so fucking tired of stupid Forex trader asshole fake accounts. Piss me off. Oh, this is a great point. You know what else helped me was working with Trader Lucy, and now I have my... Scott, you think we're getting banned for that on YouTube? I don't want to actually shoot these people. Good news, they're not actually people. It is awful. And bots and scams are terrible, basically no upside, and they're going to be a really difficult thing to continue to promulgate after mass verification is in effect. This may be one of the best reasons to do it. Now, to that end, in a more very slightly futuristic world, in which we are already living a little bit, but we'll be living more and more, AI, fake bots and fake news becomes much harder to disseminate because the way that AI will disseminate, sort of nefarious AI will disseminate fake news is this. They'll make a fake news reel, fake news anchors or real news anchors, but it changes the words, whatever you want. And it'll push this out onto social media. Now, social media is a big place. Unless it's some really compelling news, a lot of times you want to boost the algorithm to get it to real people, even with verified accounts, to share it by creating a botnet where you just basically have tons of robot accounts, share the living fuck out of it, like, comment with the nonsense, and then boost the algorithm. And then real people see it like, oh my God, did you hear? Trump got arrested and there's these pictures. If it's all verified accounts, or as it is now, verified accounts get super boosted in the algorithm and unverified accounts don't. I prefer all verified accounts in this case, but even if there's a bifurcation, it's much harder to do the fake news thing. Way harder, AI or not. Now, on that point, I do want to say something. I was going to make a separate video for this, but I figured I would include it in this one because it's not that long of a rant. It's a very passionate rant incoming. It's not that long. Very, very straightforward point. So a lot of people think AI is going to pervert social media entirely by fooling us into believing fake videos and stories. We just won't be able to tell reality from fake AI-based narrative. And AI by itself, or AI with nefarious state actors or corporations or whatever you want. If you only look at verified accounts, you have a much lower probability of seeing that because the person in the verified account has to be sharing something from an unverified account, like a nefarious AI, or more likely, the person with the actual account that's verified has to be like actually put it up. But then there's something for us to come back to and say, hey, Bob, do you really mean to tell me you believe this? And they're like, well, no. Bob, you're a real person. Stop sharing stupid shit you found somewhere else on the internet. Much easier to tell the real person that than an AI botnet, which doesn't speak back to you. But a little bit of reservation on this. This is something I'm going to come back to a few times. I might even make a dedicated video to it. Humans, part of the video you saw, last video, I think, maybe a video we just did on the pessimistic fallacy. The average human is too pessimistic to be concordant with the real world most accurately. The average human also has a tendency to get into hyperbole and to catastrophize. And this pisses me off to no end because it works on YouTube. You clickbait, thumbnail the fuck out of something. On our fitness channel, like, are you not doing this exercise and you're going to die because you don't do it? You'll never get big biceps if you don't do this. Shut up. It's all lies. And this happens in a grander scheme where people just catastrophize the living fuck out of anything. And they think because they're catastrophizing it that they're serious people. They're not these Pollyanna-ish, wide-eyed optimists that you just get fooled by everything. Like, nah, I'm wise to this stuff. I know all the bad stuff's real. Bullshit. You're just pessimistic and catastrophizing, and you haven't even thought through the shit that you're saying. Here's an example. Some people, even people as smart as Dr. Hinton, I believe from Toronto, University of Toronto, where they've done some of foundational AI research. He's been on air saying that he's real sort of oof about AI coming in and creating content because it could fool everyone. And there's those Trump photos. I don't know if you guys have seen them. If you haven't seen them, just don't even fucking go look. You can look. I don't give a fuck. Just don't even feed that algorithm anymore. AI made these photos of Trump getting arrested, and it was multiple photos, and it's like police with batons and chasing him, and it looks real. Sure, I'll say it looks real. It looks great. And folks look at this kind of stuff and they think like, oh my God, like, that's it. Truth is done. Here's my retort back to them, or a question I have to ask. Did you guys miss Photoshop or something? I don't mean this bad. I'm mostly comedically. I'm going to say a line here I don't really mean because I have a ton of compassion and respect for folks with different opinions. But were you motherfuckers asleep when Photoshop was out for the last 20 fucking years? What kind of isolated, non-internet perusing asshole looks at a picture online and goes, Joe, that's gotta be real. What are you, a flat earther? Holy shit. When the Trump photos came out and some leftist guy, it doesn't matter who he was like, oh, this is a problem. It is. I've seen photos of Trump dunking on LeBron on fucking, they look pretty convincing to me. If you still fall for fake pictures, you need a handler. You need someone to verify your account for you and just run your account. Don't be on social media. What are you, 90 or some shit? It's crazy. And AI videos, when they come out, and they'll be real convincing, just look at the source. If it's BBC that's publishing it, if it's major news organizations are relatively trustworthy, Fox News, if they're publishing it, there's a good chance it's real. Still not 100%. Nothing's 100%. Never was. If AI.bot.bs unverified account published it, bro, what are you doing? So this whole narrative, this whole notion that we got to stop AI from making content, otherwise everyone will just not know what reality is. You guys, that's already happened. It's called Photoshop, and it did fucking nothing. Nobody cares. Yeah, your dad's uncle's friend who's 92 goes on Facebook and thinks everything he sees on his feed is the literal truth. This is just a generation thing. They're no offense, but they used to scam old people in the 80s with check fraud and all that stuff. This is a good old people thing. And I know it sucks, it blows. It's a problem we can solve. The one way to solve it to begin is verification. It is not to get rid of all AI. But this whole idea that everything's going to be fake and no one's going to be able to tell is insane, especially because we have verification. All right, end rant. Now, another upside of verification is even in mixed verified and unverified spaces, something like Twitter today or Instagram today, YouTube today, you can just comfortably ignore the verification thing and you can just actually pretend not to see any comments from unverified accounts. Because I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but there's something here. Not always, not in every case, but in many cases, if you are unverified. Now, today, most people are not unverified, today most people are not verified because it's just a new thing. In 2, 3, 4, 5 years on many of these major platforms, you might not even be allowed if you're unverified. But even when it's most people verified and some minority not verified. In that context, if you are unverified, you're not being transparent with me. You are hiding from me. I'm showing you the real me. I'm really Dr. Mike. Who the fuck are you, Dildo Lover 51? That's not a real person. And you don't have a blue check, so you're not even a real person with a nickname. I have no idea who you are. You could be a Russian bot. You could be a Chinese troll. You could be AI. Or you could be a person with nuanced opinions that just hadn't gotten verified or doesn't want to for some ideological reason. I can't tell which one you are. You're saying to me, if you're unverified at some point, when verification is mass and universal and almost everyone has it, that like, don't trust me probably. Now, maybe trust me because tons of good people right now and in the future will be unverified, but how do I know that? I don't know that. So it's totally cool. The huge implication here is if you saw a video of a news event on an unverified news account, it's not news because it could be fake. And if you have a news platform, get your ass verified so that at the very least, if you make a mistake, we know who to blame, you. But if we don't have anyone to blame because it's all same, I'm not trusting your ass. If a verified news account accidentally or even intentionally spreads fake news, both you, for the future, and third-party ratings and accuracy services, because you can go, like Ground News is a great website, you can go and they say sort of who to believe, who not to believe on average, and what the political biases are of various news organizations. These folks, including yourself, know exactly who to blame because you got that blue check mark, and that's really you. If we don't have blue check marks, if we don't have verification, who the fuck knows what's real and what's not real? That's a problem. And that's a problem verification largely solves, or at least hugely solves. Now, another benefit. Hate speech becomes really, really tough to generate. I can't say what I really think about hate speech with full Dr. Mike splendor, because in the current political environment, yes, the political left in the United States, pretty strong. We do have majority control over social media platforms and narrative, and there's all kinds of truthful things to say that they will can you for. And it's stupid that it exists, and I hate it every second of it. And I can't even say what I'm talking about, because even saying what I'm talking about, you guys know, but you're not allowed to say a whole bunch of stuff that should be totally cool to say if it's done truthfully and respectfully. So what is labeled as hate speech, a lot of times isn't even hate speech. There is hate speech that is hate speech, and some people just don't want to see it. But I have, predictably, meta-libertarian view on this. I like verification a lot. In my ideal world, it'll be much more like Elon Musk's idea. You're verified. Everyone's verified. And hate speech doesn't even get you banned. You can say all the hate speech you want, but motherfucker, we gonna know who's saying it. And why wouldn't you fess up to your shit? You hate XYZ group, right? You're making fun of XYZ group. Hey, look, maybe other people agree with you. Maybe that group deserves it. Can you imagine if like Nazis were mostly in charge? We wouldn't be allowed to say hate speech about Nazis. Fuck them. Fuck Nazis. Fuck communists. Fuck all those people. I want to be able to say it. And I'm proud to say Mike Israetel thinks fuck every communist. Verbatim. And not literally, because that would cause them too much pleasure. And Nazis. And all the bad people. Terrorists, ISIS, whatever. You name it. People that don't tip. I'm kidding. Also you. Here's the thing. In a verified world, Bob from marketing doesn't have a troll account anymore. If he's going to say some shit, he has to own it. And then people retort with, well, maybe, he's going to be fired from work if he expresses his views. That is a problem for policy, for openness. It is not a problem for verification. Here's the thing. You can always say it in anonymous forums, and I'll get to that in a sec to explain it a little bit more in depth. But even if we say, hey, Bob, you said this really hateful thing. He's like, well, yeah. And then he gets fired from work. He's like, well, how dare you fire me from work? Here's the thing, Bob. Maybe people don't want to work with you if you pop off at the mouth about some shit that pisses them off. And hilariously, the people that hate this the most right now are conservatives, who in the 1950s, during the quote-unquote conservative heyday or something like that, I don't want to put too much emphasis on that, they loved life. And part of the culture of the 50s was you left your politics the fuck at home. You didn't bring that shit to work. You didn't bring it into public life. Even people who didn't like, let's say we got purple people walking around and green people. You're one of the green people and we got purple people too. And let's say you're living in a 1950s era kind of social acceptability culture. In that culture, which is very conservative, okay, if you're a green person, you don't want the purple people protesting with signs like, purple people forever, purple people forever. Like, Jesus, social justice warrior, Christ, get out of my face. I'm just trying to go to Walmart. It's just the same way. If you're a green person and you don't quite like those purple people, something about them, even very distinct things about them, you don't like, you're very unlikely as a cultured, decent green person to go to Walmart and be like, you know what I hate? And there's purple people everywhere, some green people. Purple people. I hate them. It's not right to do that. You're in public, or you're at work, or you're at the pool, or you're at the zoo, or you're in a car with carpool friends. Shut the fuck up and be civil. Or have nuanced discussions to yourself between a few people at a time. So a lot of times when Bob gets on unverified account, like, I tell you what, there's a conspiracy, fucking purple people are ruining our country, enter. I want people to know that that's Bob, because Bob, you said that shit. And if he's like, well, I shouldn't be canned from work for saying what I believe. Bob, people have been canned from work for saying what they believe for all of time. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Your coworkers might not want to work with you if you're full of fucking hate. And if you're full of hate, listen, we're all full of hate. Keep that shit inside. Talk to your friends and family about it. Go meditate for a while. Namaste, woosah. And if there's too many purple people at your work, quit your work. Go work with all green people. So this whole idea, if we can have our cake and eat it too, I can be a hateful public son of a bitch, but my company, a private enterprise, by the way, can't fire me for it. That's not freedom of speech. It is exactly freedom of speech. And don't forget it. So the 1950s are back. Congratulations. Enjoy. Next benefit. Trolling all but dies in many places. Hopefully, in the future, you'll be able to click a thing that chooses filtered accounts or unfiltered accounts. For example, on this channel for sure, but we also run the Renaissance Periodization YouTube channel. Scott the Video Guy and I, we read the comments. We want to deliver the best possible YouTube videos for the people that want to see them. But right now, we can't tell the trolls apart from everyone else. So we can't tell if someone's like, hey, I want this video. Are they trolling or are they for real? Because if they're for real, we want to make a video for them. If they're trolling, what are you, 9 or some shit? What are you, 12? Like, AOL days are gone. Go away. So hopefully there's this option soon where you can click a button and all the unverified accounts just go. You just don't see them. And that way we can read all the comments. Oh, great. This is what our actual community thinks. Now, here's the thing. You can and should still be able to troll, but now you got to troll with your real name. And trolling is precisely an online community thing because of anonymity. Where is trolling the most pervasive? In anonymous forums where it's almost all trolling? I wonder how. Because trolls at the end of the day, almost all the time, are just like little young kids or people who are mentally young kids but are in adult bodies, just want to talk that shit, but they don't got big enough balls to say it with their real name. And if they do, hey, sweet, troll away. I love it. But if you're trolling it as like anonymous, real talk, I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this. I don't give a fuck. Anonymous trolling is so fucking lame. Per that point I just made, the PC word police that we have now, I would have used a different word than lame. I meant the same thing. We used it in the 90s. You guys know what I'm saying. And it's so annoying. Oh, anonymous user 5561 just burned me. Oh, wait, you're not even a fucking human being. You don't even present to me like a man or a woman or a child or whatever the hell you are. It's trolling. No thanks. Now, if you troll with your real name, hey, we're just joshing each other. That's great. Bring it on. But almost nobody does that because then it's human to human. If your account looks like a troll account, currently, just on a personal note, I truthfully don't give a shit what you think. So if you want to post in the comments and you got what looks like a troll account and you post anything, I don't care because you're hiding. You're hiding with an anonymous account. Consider yourself hidden from my view. I just don't care. And that's how it should be. And more verification will make it more and more like that. Another huge benefit. Now, this is like real world stuff outside of the social sphere. If verification really takes off and everyone/almost everyone is verified, you'll be able to link money and other identity tokens to your account, which means you'll be able to auto pay at the store or online. Like if you're browsing the internet and you're browsing in your device whether it's AR goggles or it's your phone or whatever it is, your device knows it's you because the verification is deep. When you see something online you want, you should be able to 2-click buy it. Click, confirm, yep, and it just arrives to your house. I don't want to have to enter my credit card info. How many fucking times do I have to enter the same info? If I'm verified, it's for sure me, and I really want the thing. Huge benefits. We'll talk about this in the future section a little bit, but if I go to the store, I want to be able to just it's like it's me, it's for real me, and the fucking cameras pick it up. So I just take groceries, put them in my bag, the little mini cameras everywhere, scan everything, and I just money is debited out of my account because it's actually me going to the store and buying. Amazing. You'll be able to, in the future, I think, unlock your house or car automatically. You walk up to your house, it has many cameras and sensors, you walk right in, doors open. Somebody else walks up to your house, laser cannons come out, warning, proximity alert. I'm kidding, but the baller dystopian future, we can't hate that too much. But on a serious note, the house just doesn't open or the car doesn't open. I think Tesla already might be doing that with their cars. There is a realistic world we can have where convincing, beginning with verification, and of course with other technologies, there may be a world in which you can walk through the entire airport and onto the plane without anyone harassing you. Because the airport and the airline company, they know you have a ticket. Your ticket is for that day, for that flight, and you're verified. So they know it's you. And the auto sensor super biometric detection technology that exists right at the gate of the airport at real-time streams while you walk in knows it's for real you walking in. And it's super hard to fool that shit. Maybe almost impossible. You walk right through. Why is there a need for a TSA, a Transportation Security Administration in the United States? Why is there a need for scanning anything? You just fucking walk right in and walk right through. Now, if you walk into the airport past a certain point and you're not verified to be on a flight, you guys already know what I'm going to say. Fucking miniguns come out, unverified human. They start whirring just to let you know they could fire at any moment. I'm kidding. But certainly agents would come out, or robot agents, and be like, hey, you're not verified to go through here. The verification is unbelievable because it can let all of the rest of us, generally law-abiding people, just have a seamless approach to life without being securitized and coddled at every turn. All right. Next upside of verification. Nefarious governments have a much harder time with propaganda. Right now, they can just feed propaganda to the botnet. The botnet puts it up, and other people are like, oh, is that really true? But nefarious governments like Russia and China and North Korea, for example, just to name a few, they're going to have to convince real human beings that the propaganda is true, which is easy for their countries. North Koreans, Chinese, and Russians are easy to, convince because they just get state-fed media all the time. Harder and harder because they have open internet nowadays if they do VPNs. But how are you going to convince Americans of some shit? Or Swedish people or English people that you're going to do Russian trolls? You don't have trolls or bots. It's just Russian KGB agents. There's just not that many of them. So it's going to be really, really hard to do, which is great. Less nefarious government propaganda, amazing. Less any kind of government propaganda, amazing. You don't need any more of that. Next benefit, cyberbullying becomes really, really hard to do. Cyberbullying, it's like, I just can't relate to this because by the time we had the cyberspace, I was already an adult and bullying's fucking ridiculous. But cyberbullying is like a real thing. Kids cry about it and sometimes even do worse things to themselves. But if everyone's verified, cyberbullying is real hard because when you do it, there is digital evidence of you having done it. And that's really you. You can't deny it. The cyberbullying a lot of times happens when people start troll accounts and they're people that go to the same high school or middle school as someone and they're like, hey, I heard you shit your pants in homeroom. And they're like, and there you go, bullying. Bullying 101. But if they're verified, they're one screenshot away or a screenshot plus you send it to Meta and Meta goes, yep, this interaction really happened. This is not a fake screenshot. That goes right to the principal's office right after, right to the police, or whoever the hell deals with that kind of shit. And then it's bad news because a person's like, you did this. And they're like, yep, sure did. This is bullying. Yep, you're in trouble. Okay. And once people learn that you can't just bully people, it's bullying people is easy when the teacher's not looking. But in a Meta verified space, teacher's always looking. And they're not looking for anything specific. But if you do bullying, it will be brought to their attention. It's kind of easy to tattletale. And in that case, bullying greatly reduces. Now, look, I'm not saying you'd always tattletale for bullying. My personal approach is just violence. But, back to the bully. That's also not a good thing to say, I think, recommendation-wise. At least the threat of violence is nice. But if you're into letting the authorities know about being bullied, which I think is awesome, yeah, it's going to be really easy with everyone's verified. Because if it's an anonymous account, how the hell do you prove it's that person? If it's a verified account, it's that person. Next, lastly, I've said a lot about verification because I think it's fucking great. The place for anonymous posting should exist and probably always or almost always will exist. Anonymous posting can speak truth to power in a way that verified posting may just not be able to do. There is time for anonymity, and it's really, really valuable. But anonymous versus verified distinction is super valuable because a lot of times people want to read anonymous posts, like get the real undercover truth. Stuff you're not allowed to say in normal conversation. There's value to that, a ton. But people want to know where it's coming from. If I read something that I think could be true about like a political scene or something from unverified accounts, I go, oh, this is interesting. I'm going to look into this. But it don't automatically like really assign it high probability of truth because it's anonymous. It might totally be bullshit. If I see something verified, I know it's more likely to be at least that person's true beliefs because most people don't post their false beliefs onto the internet very often because they're going to be taken into account for them. So yes, anonymous posters, you can still fight on the side of la revolution, but you'll have to do it in the shadows, in anonymous forums, as anonymous accounts. It's just like the real thing. Like you want to be in the shadows, you want to be a partisan against the global world government, new world order, you're going to have to do it in the shadows. Amazing. Look at you, la resistance and shit. Slow clap. And by the way, I do think that's important. But we can have both. So verification is a very good thing. All right. Lastly, the future of verification. There are some elements of future prediction that are very uncertain. There are other elements of future prediction that are much more certain. There are still other elements that are almost obvious. I say almost because sometimes the obvious turns out not to be the obvious. So when I'm going to be doing future prediction in this channel, mostly in the Preparing for the Future series, which you're watching a video of now, I'm going to have this layered approach where some stuff I won't speculate on because so what's life going to be like in 2045? Like that's after the singularity as Ray Kurzweil predicted. So I have no idea. I can speculate maybe general physical laws will still stay, but also it looks like we don't know the physical laws like we thought we might. For example, like the James Webb Telescope right now is showing us stuff that makes no goddamn sense with our concept of the universe in some regard, with at least the Big Bang Theory as it's traditionally been proposed. So it's like, okay, I'm not even willing to bet that. But as the timeline shrinks to closer to us, and as the thing being discussed becomes more informative and we understand its structure better, some future prediction becomes closer and closer to not obvious, but almost. And here's, I think, one of them. In the future, very near future, AIs will be able to look and act more and more like humans on social media. As a matter of fact, on my other channel, the Renaissance Periodization channel, if there is an opportunity for an AI version of me to give you 2 times more videos, but I can just type up the videos really fast and then the AI Dr. Mike delivers them, that's cool. But that's a good use case. There's plenty of ways to abuse it and make it look like, something is being said by someone that it's not actually said, et cetera. So because we don't know, we have a high confidence that AIs have all the power already and more in the future to look and act human on social media. Both humans and AIs that can and should be trusted should be verified. And verified as one or the other. I want to know in the future, is this a human saying this? Or is this their AI clone? Or is this just AI that's not a human? I don't know whose clone it is. It's just an AI character. I want to know what it is. Now, here's the thing. Me personally, you guys already know, I trust AI probably better than I trust people. But I still want to know who's who. Definitely. And unverified AIs? Now, gee whiz, I really wonder who's going to be looking at that shit. Because if it's an unverified AI, there's no responsibility. It can say whatever the fuck it wants. And if you believe that, with some exceptions, of course, it's going to be an interesting place. So as AI grows in power and can simulate humans being verified is a big deal, and AI being verified is a big deal. I want to know that this AI system was made by, something like the Coca-Cola company. That's their Coca-Cola AI. It's not a real person. It's just the AI system. But everything they say, I can probably trust at least as much as I trust Coca-Cola. So that's a big deal. I think this is going to be a thing we see in the future. The other benefit is this: we're going to have so many AI creators in every space that I think there could be a cottage industry of human creators. And trust me, I'm a real human green check next to the blue check of I'm also verified or something like that. If I'm still in the space of being a creator at that point, I'd like a thing that generally says I'm human, although I'm really a cyborg and you guys already know that, so I'd be lying. But seriously, a lot of potential here, and I think that's part of the future, is telling us who is verified, who's not, and of the verified, who is AI and who is human. Great, because it's more transparency, it's more information. Next, I think in the future, maybe a little bit more distantly, verification will start to be auto-tied in to your augmented reality and virtual reality presence. It will streamline mobility from real reality through AR to VR, allowing things like monetization, allowing things like shopping, etc., to be super smooth. For example, let's say you're walking around and you have your AR goggles on or AR glasses, and so do other people. I think there's a very straightforward future world in which you look at someone, and if they've chosen, they have an auto flag up, and you look at them real quick, and you like click on their face, and not really, you come up and hit their face, like you go like this to their face, or you zoom in on it, whatever kind of shit we're going to be doing at that point, and their social media profile pops up, and you get to see their name, and if they're single or not. And you go, "What's up, girl?" And you DM her right in your shit, and she's like, "Oh, what up?" No. You're like, "Oh, that's awkward." Anyway, I meant to DM the girl behind you. Get out of here. So that integration of real reality through augmentation with virtual reality is a big deal. And if you're verified, it'll be super straightforward to be like, is that really that girl? Because you could hit their profile and something pops up, but maybe they're lying. Well, if they're verified, they're sure as shit much more likely not to be lying. That empowers a lot of really, really cool shit. You can shop seamlessly, take stuff off a shelf, store auto charges you, talk to people, know who, in a car, on a train. You can get into an Uber and look at your Uber driver, and it pops up with his profile, his ratings, who he really is, and all this other really crazy stuff. That is almost certainly coming, and it's going to be empowered to a huge extent by verification. And lastly, this is a big guess for me. This is me getting on the edge of what I'm comfortable speculating. I think potentially conversations on the internet may become more civil. I know that's a lot to ask. I think conversations are more civil when it's real people talking to each other, verified accounts, because folks with the veil of the unverified account, with the anonymous account, they almost always talk to other people online in ways they would never in a million years talk in real life. And because social media is going to blend more and more into our real lives, because it really is just like a tech-enabled way to interact with humans, and that's all it really is, it's going to be curious to see, as verification builds, how people behave. Because like when I was a kid and I found out like AOL forums existed, I was 15, and a childhood friend of mine, he was like 12 at the time, we went on there and we just talked so much shit, because that's what kids do. And like, honestly, we poisoned the well, because like whatever that chat room was got worse when we got in there. We lied to people, make believe, just DM someone, I have a huge dick, send, that's it. Stuff like that. And in a more mature situation, people still talk a lot of shit to each other when there's not a real person behind it. Anonymous forum debates is just like instant name calling, especially when guys are involved. And that's not a great thing. There are benefits to it, but there's a lot of downsides. So I suspect that as verification becomes the dominant paradigm, and as people talk less and less to unverified people, again, AI and bots are like the best thing that happened to verification, because we don't really know who the hell is who otherwise. As that happens, I do suspect there is a probability that people will become at least marginally more civil to each other, because I'm not talking as just some guy, and I'm not some guy. I'm Dr. Mike, and that's Bob from marketing. And I know I'm talking to Bob, and Bob just works down the department for me, just 3 feet that way. I'm probably not going to go Bob and tell him to get fucked for his political views. I might be like, hey, Bob, I hear you, but I disagree. Maybe it'll get less civil, but I doubt it. Because when people are dealing with real humans, they tend to pare down their degree of irateness considerably. Ooh, I said a lot. In any case, folks, like, subscribe, comment. If you have friends that like this kind of stuff, send them over. If you're into fitness stuff, check out the Renaissance Periodization Fitness channel. I talk about entirely different subjects, and that's the deal. Yeah, and by the way, I have heard you guys say I should talk to Destiny, the streamer. Seems very interesting. I have no idea how to get in touch with a person like that. So if you guys can pull some strings and had him hit me up on Instagram DMs or some shit, I'd love that. Anyway, see you guys next time.